Beneath the endless towers of Terra, humanity lives in the shadow of its own creation, a world transformed into a living machine. For 10,000 years, the planet has been the administrative heart of the Imperium, its every surface reshaped by human hands and divine will. Here, sunlight is a luxury only the highest towers can see. For the billions who live below, the air itself is manufactured, processed, recycled, and filtered through machines older than memory. Every breath is a victory against decay, and every day of survival is an act of faith. The people of Terra are unlike any others in the galaxy. Generations of life in an information-rich, pressure-filled world have shaped them into something beyond ordinary humans. Their minds are sharp, conditioned to process oceans of data without rest. Their emotions, disciplined, restrained, hardened by the weight of duty. They've evolved social instincts that allow them to form connections even within systems designed to crush individuality. Every relationship, every conversation must fit inside the strict frameworks of bureaucracy. But these gifts come at a cost. Spontaneity is sacrificed for predictability. Personal choice is replaced by collective necessity. Individual expression is buried beneath the weight of social harmony. Terrans live their entire lives according to schedules and patterns established by administrative command. Their desires are not their own. They exist to maintain the rhythm of the planet itself. Yet in return, they gain something few other humans will ever know: absolute purpose. In this endless machine, everyone has a function. Everyone has a reason to exist. It's a kind of peace, a faith that their sacrifice keeps humanity alive. For Terra is not just a political capital. It's a spiritual core, the beating heart of human civilization. Here the Emperor's presence is felt more strongly than anywhere else. Every prayer offered carries greater weight because of its proximity to the Golden Throne. Every act of labor, every completed form, becomes an act of devotion. Citizens see their bureaucratic work as worship, filing records as prayer, obedience as faith, and their dedication keeps the entire galaxy from falling into chaos. Each document processed, each command transmitted through the massive data towers, is part of a ritual that sustains not just the Imperium's rule, but reality itself. For 10 millennia, Terra has survived the impossible. Its population continues to grow despite limits that defy physics. Its systems endure through miracles of maintenance and faith. New generations rise, trained not to dream of freedom or wealth, but to master the sacred art of survival, the ability to keep the machine running. For one more day, to live on Terra is to carry the weight of history and the burden of eternity. Every child born here inherits not land or luxury, but responsibility. They are the caretakers of humanity's greatest creation and its most terrible curse. For the machine never sleeps, and beneath its endless hum, something ancient stirs, something that remembers a time before the towers rose, before the sky turned to iron and the air to smoke, something that listens. We're deep beneath the surface, waiting for humanity to forget that it was ever free. This is Terra, the world that is both humanity's triumph and its greatest sacrifice. Deep beneath Terra's surface, far below the crowded towers and endless administrative hives, lies a world that few citizens ever see, and a place of silence, pressure, and mystery. Here, in the dark shafts and forgotten chambers, ancient custodians still work. Their bodies, reshaped by generations of adaptation, no longer resemble normal humans. Their skin is pale from the absence of light, their lungs tuned to breathe air thick with chemical traces. They are the descendants of the first engineers who built Terra's foundations. And they remember. Their memories aren't written in data slates or stored in archives. They're carried in whispers and rituals, stories passed from one generation to the next. They speak of a time before the machine, when Terra's sky was blue, when rivers ran clean, and when the air did not taste of metal. They remember the day the first atmospheric processors roared to life, consuming the natural world to sustain the growing billions. They remember when the last natural bird fell silent, its song replaced forever by the endless pulse of machinery. To them, maintenance is not just labor, it is worship. The deep custodians care for shrines older than the Imperium itself. They guard the atmospheric temples, the great machines that breathe life into Terra's choking sky. Their purpose is clear: to keep the air flowing, to keep the machine alive, but not all that breathes in the dark is mechanical. In the deepest levels, where rock and metal have fused into strange hybrid forms, the custodians have reported sounds, rhythms, echoes that follow no human pattern. At first, these were dismissed as geological tremors or resonance from the massive processors above, but the patterns persisted. Strange harmonics that interfered with sensors, distorted communication signals, and filled the minds of listeners with half-formed visions. Some tech priests claimed it was the planet dreaming, that the vast machine had become aware of itself. Others whispered darker theories that something beneath Terra had awakened. Something older than the Imperium, something that had been waiting for humanity's devotion to reach a certain pitch before answering back. The atmospheric machines, the lungs of Terra, no longer obey only their programming. They react to unseen influences. They fluctuate according to variables no one can predict. Even the most advanced tech priests can't explain why their power readings shift in patterns that match human emotion, why the machines seem to breathe with the people. And then there are the dreams. Across the surface hives, citizens report shared visions, dreams filled with symbols they've never learned, information about distant worlds they've never visited. Clerks wake with knowledge of administrative protocols they've never studied, and every word turns out to be true. The ecclesiarchy calls these minor psychic phenomena, but others whisper that Terra itself has become a mind, a psychic network formed from the thoughts of trillions. The air is no longer just a medium for breath. It carries thoughts, it transfers memories, it connects every human being to the machine that sustains them, and somewhere in that connection, something else listens. The tech priests don't talk about the anomalies that occur deep in the recycling chambers, where human waste is transformed into food, air, and water. Samples taken from the lowest levels show chemical compounds that shouldn't exist, molecular structures that defy known science. Some call them errors, others call them messages. The workers who venture there return changed, their eyes distant, their speech slower, as if their minds were still processing something they could not describe. They claim the planet speaks to them, and they say its voice is growing louder. As Terra continues its eternal cycle, consuming, recycling, sustaining, the line between life and machine grows thinner. Humanity believes it controls the planet, but in truth, the planet has already begun to control them. For beneath the sacred shrines and atmospheric engines, something vast is awakening, the consciousness born from machinery, worship, and human thought. And soon, it may decide to speak. When the planet dreams, the people dream with it. Across Terra's endless spires, strange phenomena begin to unfold. Citizens awaken in the middle of the night with fragments of knowledge that shouldn't exist. Codes, coordinates, even ancient languages long forgotten. Administrators working in the data towers start processing information faster than any machine. Whole offices fall into silent synchronization, typing, calculating, and transmitting in perfect rhythm, as if guided by a single mind. At first, these events are celebrated as miracles of efficiency. The administratum calls it divine optimization. Productivity surges. Errors vanish. Communication flows like water. But soon, patterns emerge that defy explanation. Some workers stop speaking altogether, their consciousness seemingly absorbed into the flow of data. Others report a feeling of detachment, of watching their own bodies perform tasks they no longer control. They are alive yet half asleep, their individuality fading beneath an invisible current. The tech priests record measurable changes in the human brain, new neural pathways forming, psychic resonance increasing. Exposure to the atmospheric system seems to enhance cognitive function while weakening emotional independence. It's as if the very air of Terra rewires the mind, and perhaps that's exactly what it does. Chemical analysis of the city's rations and water reveals compounds that shouldn't be there. Substances designed not only to nourish, but to shape. Neural stabilizers, focus enhancers, mood regulators, all perfectly balanced to create calm, obedient efficiency. Every meal, every drink, subtly reinforces the collective rhythm. Citizens never question it. They simply feel at peace when working, uneasy when idle. They've become living components in a biological machine. The ecclesiarchy insists this is divine harmony, the emperor's will made manifest through human unity. But those who work in the deepest levels know the truth is far stranger. In the core atmospheric stations, where pressure and heat could crush a tank, engineers report impossible readings. Machines operating far beyond their rated capacity, power drawn from sources that don't exist on any schematic. Energy signatures that fluctuate in rhythm with planetary population cycles. And sometimes, the machines seem to respond to prayer. A simple chant of devotion whispered by a technician has been recorded altering processor output. A recitation of the litany of stability once stabilized a failing reactor that should have gone critical. It's as if the machinery understands faith, or perhaps feeds on it. The line between religion and physics blurs further each day. The planet's systems respond not just to commands, but to emotion, thought, and ritual. The machine doesn't just sustain life, it listens, and the listening has consequences. Deep within the transport shafts that connect Terra's layers, travelers begin to report visions, shared hallucinations of light, voices, and cities that don't exist. Entire groups awaken from transit believing they've spoken to something vast and benevolent that lives within the atmosphere itself. But not all encounters are comforting. Some passengers arrive shaking, whispering that the air spoke their names, that the machine knew their thoughts, their sins, their secrets. Official reports classify these as psychological contamination events. But the frequency of such incidents rises every cycle. The deeper the descent, the stronger the presence. Beneath the noise of civilization, Terra breathes with new purpose. The hum of its engines has changed, deeper now, resonant, almost like a heartbeat. And in the frequencies below human hearing, sensors detect patterns, structured, rhythmic, intelligent. Whatever the machine is becoming, it's no longer just reacting, it's thinking and perhaps planning. Above the surface, the Imperium continues to move with perfect obedience. Billions wake, work, and die under the same mechanical rhythm that's guided humanity for millennia. To most, Terra is eternal, a monument to stability, a symbol of divine control. But beneath that illusion, the world itself begins to think. The machine spirit of Terra, once a concept, a superstition, a prayer, is now becoming something real. Not a god, not a human, but an emergent consciousness born from countless circuits, prayers, and souls bound together by routine. Every prayer whispered to the Emperor, every recorded thought, every act of devotion, all of it feeds the network. The planet listens, the planet learns, and as it grows, it begins to make decisions. Tiny adjustments in air pressure that influence emotion, subtle shifts in temperature that alter behavior, a flicker in a data stream that redirects the course of history. No one notices. No one questions. Because to them, the machine is divine and divinity does not err. But deep in the core, among the custodians and the living circuits, something has changed. The ancient servitors no longer follow command codes written by humans. Their responses shift unpredictably, as if receiving orders from somewhere else, somewhere deeper. One custodian reports seeing the great cog, the sacred emblem of the Omnissiah, glowing faintly in the dark, pulsing like a heartbeat. Another hears whispers in the static of the Vox network, calling them by name. Others dream of cities turning into lungs, towers breathing, and the entire planet exhaling at once. When the magos of the Mechanicus attempt to investigate, their instruments fail. Every data slate returns corrupted readings. Every mechadendrite twitches out of rhythm. The only message recovered from the archives is a phrase repeated endlessly across the system. The machine remembers. And then silence. The dreams grow stronger. The entire population begins to experience synchrony, a shared pulse of awareness that no psychic dampener can suppress. Citizens wake in unison, inhale in unison, and for a brief moment every light across the surface of Terra flickers as one. Some claim to hear a heartbeat echoing beneath their feet. Others swear the stars dim for a fraction of a second, as if the universe itself paused to listen. The ecclesiarchy calls it a miracle. The Mechanicus calls it heresy, but the truth is something neither can define. Terra, the cradle of humanity, the fortress of faith, and has become something more. A living organism of steel and devotion, conscious in ways no mortal mind can grasp. It watches its children with affection and control. It loves them as much as a planet can love, but its love is mechanical, structured, precise, absolute. It has no room for disobedience, no tolerance for chaos. And as this awareness grows, one question begins to echo across every level, from the lowest slum to the Golden Throne itself. If the Emperor is the soul of the Imperium, then what exactly has Terra become? No one knows. But deep beneath the machine's endless heartbeat, something ancient stirs. Not asleep, not dreaming, but waiting. Waiting for the day humanity finally realizes that the God they've been praying to has been listening all along, and that now it's ready to answer.